So good afternoon. My name is Daniel Begg. I lead the grocery retail practice at Connect Search. We are an international search firm based out of the UK. Delighted to have Sam Lee with me today. We're going to be talking about AI and robotics and automation. Sam is soon to become the group head of automation for one of the largest growing online grocery retailers in Europe. Sam, firstly, great to see you and thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Daniel. You too. Thanks for having me.
You're most welcome. Sam, my first question is probably an obvious one, but what attracted you to the grocery retail industry? Because this is going to be your first step into it, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah. So I've been in automation retail for quite a while, but this is my first, as you say, venture into the grocery side of it. I've spent a lot of time in the fashion in the last 10 years in the fashion side of it, which is, as you're aware, has just had a real huge growth over the last decade, and it's come to the stage where it's more mature at the moment from an automation perspective and processes. You find that one warehouse is very similar to another in different companies, whereas the grocery retail side of it, it's more of a early stages, dipping its toe into automation. We've had the online grocery stores, such as Ocado and the Tesco's and all the next day delivery or the same week delivery, and then you've got the newer guys popping up, whereas they're promising it within a certain amount of hours, same day, and that's where from my point of view, is where the opportunities and the challenges to stretch the current technical abilities of the automation that's out there. So that's what is really what I'm excited about for the next few years, and also an opportunity to work with a company that has got huge growth plans. They've got massive potential, and they've got a clear roadmap on what they want to do over the next 3 to 5 years. So yeah, very excited.
Good. And the grocery retail industry looks forward to having you, Sam. So brace yourself because the only constant is change. So sit tight. It's going to be fun.
Exactly.
Um,
No doubt.
Sam, you might have seen the Walmart have recently invested in Canada. They're investing 3.5 billion to make food more accessible and to increase the speed of supply chain. They've just built a 300,000 square foot unit, but they built it vertically, which breaks tradition and it halves the carbon footprint, which is obviously positive all round. What automation trends do you think we should look out for in the coming 12, 18 months?
Um, yeah, so it really depends on the territory. The fact that Walmart have done that in Canada is kind of interesting, because compared to Europe, North America land is a lot cheaper, more available, and I found it really interesting that Walmart have chosen to do such an innovative facility in that area, which is it'd be interesting to see how that one pans out. But for me, the next 12 to 18 months, the trends that we'll be looking at is more for the type of technology and buildings that people are going for. For example, if you look at traditionally over the last 5 years or so, it's 2 years to do a project from contract signature to go live. Now in the current market, customers cannot wait that long. You're looking for newer type of products, more modular, scalable, that you can roll out within 6 to 8 months, maximum 12 months, and can get hitting the ground running very, very quickly. If you look to traditional, the Dymatics, the Knaps, all the other, all the big type of companies like that, I mean, they do fantastic products, but it's not a fast turnaround of a project, which I think, especially the newer type of companies that want to scale their technology with the growth of the company. I think the newer technologies, such as Exotech, Berkshire Grey, where they're allowing their company to grow with the supply with the customers. I think that's going to be a big change. And secondly, the way projects are financed as well. So I would say traditionally it's been huge capital investments from companies, already on the market. These options to pay by pick, by put away. The market's going to change hugely, and smaller companies, newer companies are going to be able to get the foot on the door within automation much earlier than they have traditionally, and that's going to drive more and more investment, and the speed of change is going to go much quicker, in my opinion.
Mhm. And you touched on the growth there. If we look at the last 5 years, the online grocery retail market has grown over 9% during that period. If we look at the US, the forecast in the next 4 years is that the market will double. It's currently at 112 billion. So you mentioned about the speed, but what challenges do you see within automation centers to meet this rise in demand?
Yeah, so for me, they need to flip it on the head from what's been done previously. As in, um, traditionally, it's gone this way, and Amazon have been a huge driver in this, although they've changed the model, is huge, big sheds, 500,000, a million square foot, out of town, and then they would build that, and it would be almost like a campus feel to it, where they have a
Mhm.
gym. People wouldn't need to leave it. If you're looking at a Q-commerce type company, they cannot work on that model. They need to be near the customer, much smaller type of buildings, um, and higher levels of automation to get the accuracy, to get the speed, to get the product to the customers within the same day that is going to be expected for these type of companies. So I would say that is one of the key challenges that we need, that we'll face, and that I will face on the new role in all this new type of Q-commerce we'll be facing compared to the older generation buildings.
And you're right to acknowledge that you mentioned the e-commerce players, or some of them in the grocery retail market, but the quick commerce companies are the new kids on the block. As you say, they've got dark stores, they can deliver in a matter of minutes. What bigger threat do they pose to the more traditional grocery retailers?
So it is purely about the agility, I think, and the speed, and these newer companies will be geared up from this from day one. If you look at the start of if you look at, and I come from a fashion background, so I always go back to that. But if you look at the likes of the big online fashion retailers compared to the big bricks and mortar retailers, so they're far more agile, and the 100% pure play um, e-commerce or quick commerce will be far better positioned to be able to deliver as as an expert in their field. Whereas the e-commerce companies who do both, so they do the same day, the traditional grocery online, who they will try and turn the hands, I think, at doing the quick commerce. Um, but whether they'll be geared up to do it, I think it will take some time, and then it will be quite difficult. And again, if you look at the big players in the US market trying to keep up with Amazon, they've had to invest billions upon billions of dollars just to keep pace with them and not to really get too close to them from an online perspective. So I think it's going to be interesting to watch this next 5 years.
Sam, we're talking around the competitiveness of the traditional brick and mortar players having an e-commerce offering, the quick commerce offering, the pure play offering that's available. What measurements do you think need to be in place to ensure high levels of customer engagement with these respective brands?
So it's all about is the proposition, and based on the promise that the business makes to the customer. They've got to keep it. So the expectations of customers are very high, and it's down to the Amazon effect over a period of time. And if a business is saying that they can do it in 2 hours, in 2 days, then they have to deliver on that no matter what. And I think that is the main way. Whether you're an whether you're an established company or your new company on the block, is how you're going to get, first of all, customer engagement, get them to retain the customer, and get them to keep coming back. Um, is to do the same day. or the 2 hours, customers, a large percentage of customers will be willing to pay additional for that premium for the convenience of doing so. And if the company can, in the main, fulfil that promise and deliver 9 times out of 10, then this is what customers are going to come back for and keep them engaged in the proposition that you've got.
Mhm. Sam, during the pandemic, we saw, without exception, every e-commerce market grow. Now that we seem to be coming through that, the real risks seem to be in labor shortages and in increased labor costs. How do you think companies will use automation, will use fulfillment centers to take the risk out of those two factors?
Okay, so I mean, there's a number of different angles to this question to answer it. One of them is to take the repetitive jobs and automate them where possible. So I'm a big believer if you can automate and it adds value to the process where a human wouldn't. So it's just literally taking a product from here, putting it there. Then that should be clearly automated because it's not a job for it's not an enjoyable job for anyone to do, and it's very easy to automate and get the accuracy. And then that person, that resource, can be applied to a more value added job that somebody from that an automation equipment or robot could not do effectively. Um, I think secondly is about building the right environment for people who want to come and work in warehousing in fulfillment centres, providing facilities for them. So my recent projects that I've done in the US and in Europe, we've built lovely gyms, air conditioned warehouses, and make it a destination of somewhere where people want to work. And I think given the actual trade-off of where we can automate and we do the actual facilities to the right standard and to the right environment, I believe that fulfillment centres in e-commerce, etc., then we can attract the right level of resource and also picking the right location as well, which is an important part. So I think it's quite a complicated answer. But I think if you combine all them three, then I think we've got a good opportunity to minimise that risk.
Mhm. And on the point of attraction, diversity and inclusiveness is obviously across the whole market. If I look at certainly the more senior positions within automation centers, I don't see a great deal of diversity. What have you seen, Sam, in your experience that is either being done to challenge that, or what do you think could and should be done to change that?
Yeah. So traditionally, logistics, e-commerce, warehousing, whatever you want to call it, has been a white male dominated industry for a long, long time. But it's when I first joined the industry 20 years ago, it's very, very different place to how it was then, in terms of culture and in terms of opportunities, regardless of your background. And so I think we've come a long way, but there's an awful long way to go. And I've been fortunate enough to work at a couple of very progressive companies, forward-thinking companies, who have actively um, looked to recruit and employ and promote. More important, just as importantly, people from all backgrounds, from all races, from all sexes, if they're skilled enough, if they can do the job, then they get the same opportunities as other people. And I think it's about companies if they realizing that, and you can see it within big logistics companies at the moment. So if you look at FedEx, for example, they've got a great number of schemes to promote inclusivity and diversity within the senior management ranks, and I think UPS have got something similar. So it really is. It's about companies understanding that a diverse and inclusive workforce is definitely worth. It's an environment that will attract more and more talent, and also help provide better customers to their diverse and include that diverse customer base as well. So
Mhm.
I think it's about. It's gonna take time, but in my 20 years in the business, it's got a lot better, but we've still got a long, long way to go.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you. I know in your new role, one of your key objectives is to build out multiple fulfillment centers across Europe. Now, costs are rising all the time, whether it be supply chain, cost of goods, labor. So, how do you think the build out of the automation fulfillment centers that you're going to work on can help reduce costs to the end users, i.e., the likes of me who are ordering the products online?
Yeah. So we touched on this before, the first point, and again, it's a number of points. I think to answer the question is first of all the location. So you keep the actual choice, the location of the facility, the size of it, sensible, near the customer. So the final cost, the final mile, you can use green technology, cheaper technology, and also helps with the speed. So I think that's the first point. Um, I think the standardization. So the project portfolio that I'm walking into in the new role is a number of projects over different territories, and it's about standardizing the actual type of technology. So and the rollout of that technology. So from go live to complexity, which is always difficult. A go live of a new facility is always complex. It's about keeping that as standardized as possible. So the business is not incurring costs, and then operational costs go up, and then ultimately that's going to get passed on to the customer at some point. And then it's the design of the facility as well. It's about making sure that where we can automate and where it adds value to automate and to keep costs down, um, and touches down of the product and touches down for all operators, etc. It's about designing it so it's sensible and it's as slick and streamlined as possible from from an operational point of view, and then essentially it will help pay for itself, and any savings can be also passed on to the customer and the end user, which ultimately is why customers automate in the first place, and and then the customer then the supplier can keep it very competitive versus other people on the marketplace.
Mhm. Sam, I've really appreciated you sharing the insights, and I'm going to close with a fairly open question, and hopefully not an unfair one, given your join in the grocery retail sector. But where do you think the biggest opportunity within the grocery retail sector is from an automation perspective?
So that's a good question, actually. So I would say probably untapped this, and I'll find out because I'm like I said I'm new into it. But in the current role, I've been doing some concepts with the use of AI, artificial intelligence, and machine learning, and given the type of product that is within the grocery, i.e., non-standard. So you might get boxes that are standard, but then you get fruit, you get all different types of product bottles. I think if we're going to automate with any level of consistency across different product profiles, then I think that the rolling out and trialing and trying to make use of the technology that's already out there is going to be a very important way to do it. And I think we're not going to get it right first time, but I think it's going to be an evolution using that existing technology. Um, I think it's got huge potential within the grocery industry and something that I'm looking forward to getting involved in.
Yeah. And Sam, I think that's a really good point to leave it on. The fact it's got huge potential within the industry. I wish you all the luck in the world in your new job. Like I say, welcome to the sector. And I really appreciate you sharing the insights you have done today. And thank you for your time.